Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are doing a hormone audit. You guys know that I love these and I hope that you love listening to them. So today we are doing an audit for Erika. She is a 40-year-old lady and we're just going to dive right into it. So the very first question that I ask on these audits are, what is your biggest hormone concern at this time? And I give the direction for them to try to list, their top three concerns and be as specific as possible. So I just want to read what she's written here. She says, my periods are starting to become irregular and my tubes were removed 4 years ago following my third C-section. Since turning 40, I have started to notice my hormones changing. I have a harder time losing weight, especially around my midsection. My stress has been high since the birth of my third child, and I have changed jobs 3 times trying to find the work-life balance I need with 3 active children. I get flushed randomly. I wake up slightly swollen in the mornings. I have PCOS and I don't know what to do. So then the next question that I ask is, explain why addressing these concerns is important to you. And she said, I really don't want to continue to weigh over 200 pounds and I'm active even though I have a desk job. So how many hours of sleep do you get each night on average? 6 to 7. We would love to see this be in the 7 to 8 range, but sounds like she has young kiddos. I can completely relate to that. If it's that you still have kiddos that are waking up in the middle of the night, then a lot of times there's not a lot you can do about that. You can, trade out with your partner or someone else if that's an option where like tonight you get up, tomorrow night they do the wake ups or even just getting to sleep in on the weekends, if maybe that's when they could do the wake ups, can be really helpful. Now, if it's not the reason and you just have a hard time falling asleep at night, then we need to dig into that a little bit deeper and figure out why it is that you have a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep. And maybe it's just a habit. Maybe it's like that's the only time you get to yourself and you kind of don't want to give it up, which is understandable. But also, we do need a sufficient amount of sleep. So I would work on that, try to get to that 7 to 8 hours each night. So then the next questions that I do have here is about sleep. And she shares that she has trouble staying asleep. Always when someone says this to me, my first thought is about their blood sugar balance and their cortisol levels. She's already told me that she is very stressed, so that tracks. And we'll come back to that. She also shares here that she does not feel rested upon waking, which tells me that she's likely not getting into like a good, deep, restful, restorative sleep, even when she is sleeping. She does say that she takes some magnesium before bed. That's good. It should help. And we talk about supplements at the end of this audit form, so I'll be interested to see which form of magnesium she's taking, if she included that. Current exercise routine, she says activities range daily, walking, doing housework, not something that's super structured, but, chasing around 3 active kiddos. Do you feel motivated to exercise? No. Do you feel unusually fatigued or sore after exercise? No. She does try to do high protein. She consumes 3 meals a day with one snack if needed. Says that she tries to not eat after dinner and then eat breakfast within 30 minutes of waking up, which typically would give her around a 12-hour fast. That's probably good. Also start my day with a glass of room temperature water, sometimes spiced up with a little bit of fresh lemon juice. That's great. Downing water first thing in the morning when you get up is really helpful. And adding in that lemon juice can help also support your liver. So I love that you do that. She eats out about 1 to 3 times a week. She's a fast eater and emotional eater. Do you drink caffeine? She says yes, up to 6 cups. She says on the coffee maker, but my cup it's 2. So that either way, that's quite a bit of coffee. That is probably throwing your cortisol off a little bit. We're going to come back to all these things when I go through like the interventions, what I'm recommending. Do you feel that you have an excessive amount of stress in your life? Yes. And not able to easily handle it. Ask, what do you do to try to manage your stress? And she says, I try to read 30 minutes before bed. I try to do deep breathing exercises when I feel that I'm tense. She has her spouse or her significant other for support. And then her cycles are not regular. They are anywhere, average time between cycles, she says 14 to 28 days. Period cramps, she rates a 5 out of 10. As far as PMS symptoms, she has bloating, mood swings, increased anxiety, carb cravings. And then on her period, she has heavy bleeding and, of course, the irregular cycles. She's not on any forms of birth control. She's been diagnosed with PCOS. She does have rheumatoid arthritis. Had those 3 C-sections in the past. She takes Zyrtec daily. And then there's a list of supplements here. So let's see. We've got a multivitamin for women over 40, fish oil, calcium and vitamin D, vitamin C gummies, magnesium glycinate. That is the form that I like to see, but this dosage is low. She's taking 250 milligrams, and that might not be enough. New chapter berberine uses Vital Proteins collagen, and then recently started creatine. Okay, so let's talk about these supplements a little bit. I like the fish oil. I would keep that. The calcium and vitamin D. Calcium is important for women as we age, but sometimes the form that we get of calcium in a vitamin is not best absorbed by the body and actually put to use, and it can lead to us developing a calcium shell around our cells, which we could evaluate that and see that with an HTMA test. We always want to make sure that with calcium, especially if we're supplementing, that we're getting vitamin K2 with it so that our body can prioritize and make sure that it's getting that calcium into the bones and teeth where it actually needs to be, and we're not developing that calcium shell. I would also wonder if you have looked at the multivitamin that you're taking, especially since it's a multivitamin for women over 40, I bet it has calcium in it, and you probably don't need both. I bet that multivitamin also has vitamin D in it. And also vitamin D acts like a hormone in the body. So unless you know that you're deficient through blood test, then I would not take vitamin D unless you are kind of trying to replenish a deficiency. So I would probably take that supplement off of your plate here. Then we've got our vitamin C gummies. You know, those can be really helpful coming into this time of year where there's more sickness going around. Vitamin C is great for our adrenals, but it's really easy to get vitamin C in fruits and vegetables and a little bit of orange juice. So it's not always necessary to be taking it as a supplement. The magnesium glycinate, 250 milligrams, you could, I personally really like the Mag Soothe supplement from Jigsaw Health. That is my favorite magnesium glycinate. When you run out of this one, I would switch to that one. And it's because it also has a little bit of sodium in it, a couple other things in there. And it really, I do notice like a big difference in the quality of my sleep when I take that versus when I don't. Now take what you have first, use that up, and then just when you're reordering, when you could switch then at that time and see if that helps with your sleep a little bit. I think the berberine is totally fine to continue. You mentioned that it's 1,000 milligrams and it's just once a day. So it should be on the instructions, but with berberine, you always want to be taking that with a meal. And if you're only taking it once a day, you want to take it with your largest meal. So whether that's lunch or dinner for you, just make sure that, you're taking it ideally like 20 to 30 minutes before the meal. But if you forget, just take it right before you start eating. It's totally fine. I love the Vital Proteins, the collagen, and the creatine. Creatine is super important to help us build strong muscles and keep our muscle mass as we age as women, and that's also going to help support bone health, so I think that's great. The multivitamin, I'll send you when I send the audit recording, the multivitamin that I really like. And again, you could look at it and kind of compare the two and decide if you want to continue what you've got or switch. New Chapter it looks like that's kind of the brand of supplements that you like, because most of these are New Chapter brand. That's a pretty decent brand. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the multivitamin that you're on. And yeah, so just kind of go back and summarize. I would stop the calcium and vitamin D3. The vitamin C gummies are probably not totally necessary. You could use them up until you run out, and then I just probably wouldn't get those again. And then I would consider switching the magnesium glycinate to Mag Soothe, and make sure you're taking your berberine with your largest meal a day. Um, okay, I want to finish up the form, and then I want to come back to a couple of things. How do your current symptoms impact your life? She says, I'm not in control of my emotions. I'm stressed and I don't know how to manage. I'm tired at the end of the day and I don't know how to manage that. I want to be the mom that has time for my kids, but I don't have the energy or the patience when I get home to deal with one more thing. I think we can all probably relate to that a little bit. And then last thing is just a section for someone that's filling out their audit to share anything else that they would like for me to know. And she says, I've been overweight the majority of my life. I was within a healthy range in my mid to late 20s due to being able to focus on myself with eating and exercise. Now I have a full schedule and I don't know how to carve out time for myself. Again, that's totally fair. And I think all of us here probably can relate to that. So a couple things that I want to come back to. The first thing I want to try to address is your sleep, because there is this trickle down effect that happens with sleep. Because when you're not sleeping well, you wake up and you start your day kind of on the wrong foot. Like you already don't feel rested. You don't feel like ready to go for the day. And then you've probably immediately got needs that you're meeting for your kids and you're trying to get yourself ready and get out the door and get to work. And work is probably stressful. And it's just like you're in this like tensed state and this go, go, go state all day long. So sleep would be the first thing that I would prioritize tackling. Um, a couple things to consider here. The Mag Soothe is one of them, the magnesium supplement. But the other thing is that if you are waking up in the middle of the night, sometimes that tells us that your blood sugar is dysregulated, and that can be because your blood sugar is dropping in the middle of the night. And there's lots of different reasons that can be happening, but the 12-hour fast might be too much for your body. So you might experiment for a week doing a snack before bed that is protein and some fat. Have that, kind of just right before you go to bed, really, or 30 minutes or so before you go to bed, and see if that helps you keep your blood sugar stable throughout the night and not wake up. If you're waking up to pee, then, I would have some questions there. Like, what are you drinking at night? If you're doing like water, do we need to add some minerals to it so that your body retains that water a little better? And I don't mean retain it in a way where I mean like you wake up puffy, but I just mean like your body's able to absorb it better. If you're drinking caffeine late in the afternoon, that could be a factor. If you're doing like tea at dinner, that could be a factor. Um, just things to think about there. If you said no here that you don't snore, that's what I was gonna say next, but you said you don't snore. I would ask your partner about that and make sure, because sometimes we snore, we're not aware that we snore. Hopefully, you know, hopefully that's not the case. Then beyond that, the other things, like I think you have a really good foundation here, but the other thing that's kind of jumping out at me is this 6 to 2 cups of coffee. Um, and I understand you're totally like you're using it because you need it at this point, right? If you're not doing mineral drinks right now, which you didn't list them in your supplements, but sometimes we don't think to list that as a supplement, I would try to do coffee in the morning and make yourself a rule that you don't consume the coffee until you've had breakfast. You can drink it alongside breakfast or after, but do that first. Then for your afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are typically having coffee, you mentioned in here that you're trying to replace your afternoon cup, I think, with green tea. And I like green tea. I'm not against green tea, but it does have caffeine in it. So I would like you to not do caffeine past like lunchtime, ideally not past 10 a.m. because of the disruption that it causes to your circadian rhythm and your ability to start producing melatonin and then get sleepy early in the day or early in the night so that you're like ready to go to bed at a decent time. I think that will kind of help you in two different ways. That will help you get more sleep, and then it will also help you cut back on this caffeine. Another way that you can support that, and this might not be feasible for you depending on what your morning schedule is, but just if and when you can incorporate it, like if you could only do this on the weekends or you could only do it one day a week, that's still totally fine. Try to do it when you can. Get outside first thing in the morning when you wake up with nothing on your eyeballs, so no glasses, no contacts, nothing, and just be in the sun. You can sit out there and eat your breakfast, drink your tea, drink your coffee if you've already had your breakfast. Um, that morning light coming into your eyeballs is what helps set your circadian rhythm for the day and then will continue to impact you over the next several days. And you don't have to stay out there for a long time. 5, 10, 15 minutes is great. Um, the other thing would be some structured exercise. Um, I do, I know that you're super busy, but I'm not talking about big workout periods of time where it's like 30 minutes, an hour. No, none of us, we ain't got time for that. Um, 20 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Get some dumbbells, do some body weight exercises. YouTube is like the best resource for this because there are so many people like, I almost said influencers, and I don't know why, because it's not all what I meant. There's so many, what am I trying to say? Fitness instructors, maybe fitness influencers, I don't know, that have accounts and they publish whole programs on their YouTube channel for you to follow. Um, and I would find one of those. There's some of them that's like their specialty is like short at home workouts. I would find one of them that you kind of like or like it enough to stick with it and incorporate that when you can. And as far as feeling like you have enough time to do that, give yourself some permission here. Like, number one, you ain't got to put on any special clothes to do it. You don't have to get in workout clothes. You don't have to have like a special pair of shoes, anything like that. Like, you're at your house. You can work out in whatever you want to. Um, don't make it feel like something that your kids can't be around for. I totally understand. I got little kids, y'all, so I get this. But logistically, they can be present with you while you work out. Um, you can kind of set them up off to the side with a game or an activity, or maybe it's like something special they only get to play with while mom's working out. Try that. Otherwise, communicate with your partner. I need 20 minutes to go lock myself in the bedroom, the basement, the closet, the wherever, and get this workout done. And I need you to have them while I do that. Um, and a lot of times it's not that our partners aren't willing to do that. It's just that we have to communicate that need and we have to identify like this is the day of the week I'm gonna do it on. Because this is also not something that I feel like you have to do every single day. Like try to starting out, just try to find 2 days a week that you can do this. And then maybe you increase to 3 days a week. It doesn't have to be, this big thing where like overhauling your whole life. Um, what else here? I think that is like going to be the biggest things for you. I think that in general, those will have the trickle down effect that you need to see some improvements with these symptoms. Now, when we talk about kind of the perimenopause, menopause symptoms that you're having specifically, there is a supplement called Metabalance from Thorne that I'm going to recommend for you that will help with that. You are, getting to the stage and age of life where we expect to start to see some changes, but we want to support the symptoms and try to help control is not the right word, but help improve them where we can. Because you might still be 10 plus years away from menopause itself. You're only, you just turned 40. So, I don't want you to hear me and then think like, oh, well, she can't do anything for my hormones. It's not that. It's definitely not that. But I think that these things are going to be what will help you maybe become a little more regular in your cycles. And I do applaud you for tracking. Like you gave me really good data here. You knew, the days between, like, tracking is super important. Continue to do that so that, as things are progressing and changing more, you can identify that, call that out, and maybe talk it over with your provider. And then, of course, if you were like, I would really like to know where my hormone levels are at right now, reach out to me. We could talk about doing that. We could do it through a Dutch test, or there's like a hormone panel that we could order. That's more like a blood test that we could talk about. So I hope this information is helpful for all of you guys that are listening to this as a podcast episode. Please remember that um, any of the advice, the recommendations, the supplements I recommend, you need to discuss all of those with your provider before you make any changes. Because I'm giving this advice to Erica specifically because I have her information. I can see it in front of you. And even for her, it's a great idea before you implement any supplements to talk those over with your doctor, and especially if you're on any type of prescribed medications. So that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will talk to you next week.